Hey guys, we're back again. So I had a little bit of time here. I looked over everything, and I'm ready to give out my first predictions for who the nominees, the final nominees, are going to be for BAFTA. Because as we all know, last Wednesday we had the long lists come out. So I wanted to go through those. Then we've got. I wanted to go through and finally do some updated Oscar predictions after we've gotten the BAFTA long list out, after the SAG nominations, and everything there. And then also I want to give, I guess it'll be early predictions, I guess, for the Producers Guild. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But we do have a little bit of time before that. It'd be the 27th is when the PGA nominations are out, and DGA usually does wait until like the last week and a half before the Oscar nominations. They're actually going to announce the same day on the 27th there. So that's kind of the first time in a while that they've done that I can remember. So those two are going to be right on top of each other, which it's kind of nice to be able to knock out multiple shows in one day, like we were able to do this year with the SAG nominations and the BAFTA long lists. Makes for a long video and a lot to cover, but at least here it's only going to be 10 film nominees unless they tie and have 11 and 5 director nominations to go through there. So that won't be as bad. Okay, so we'll start here with the predictions for the top categories here for BAFTA. Because it's weird, because the Gold Derby one has the top 8 or 9 categories or 10 or something, but they don't have the other ones. So I'm like, okay, I had to go through and write the rest of them out. So I'm like, okay, well, here we go with those. So let's start with the 5 I have getting the best film nominations. So these are just in the order I have them. Belfast, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story, Dune, and Don't Look Up. I feel all 5 of these really did not miss anything on the long list. So that's the big key. I would say other than maybe Don't Look Up, the other 4 are 100% solid in the Oscar race right now. You could even argue if it's not already a two-way race between Belfast and Power of the Dog, something like West Side Story might just be one of those default winners. Dune will also have an argument there because, like West Side Story, Dune is really going to be really, really sharp in those tech categories. And I don't really see way too many, actually for both films, I don't see way too many tech categories that it's going to miss. Because it's really going to play a strong hand, I think, in both cases there. And then Don't Look Up, I just looked at it and I'm like, okay, you know what? This one, even though if we went through and counted, which I did not, the number of films for the number of nominations they landed on the long list, because there's a couple of films that got multiple nominees in some acting categories and stuff from the same film. So I didn't do that. But just looking at it, I'm like, Don't Look Up really did very, very well here on the long list. It got 5 actors on the long list for their different categories there. Let's see if I can, because it's Leo, Jennifer Lawrence, Mark Rylance, and both Meryl Streep and Cate Blanchett, all for Don't Look Up. So, so that one feels like, okay, that feels like the fifth one there. Let's see. Originally, I was thinking maybe something like Coda could do here because that was also on the director's list. It got quite a few acting long listed there as well. But I don't know. I don't necessarily see that being one that they're going to go with. It could still come in and it could still get a nomination, but I'm not really seeking that right now. Licorice Pizza is one that I'm also keeping an eye on here. The Lost Daughter could be one that gets in here. No Time to Die could actually, because I think it's going to get the Best British Film nomination, but that could be a rare one that kind of goes into both categories and gets a nomination in both. So, I think those are the ones I'm handicapping it to right now. For Best British Film, there's going to be 10 nominees here. The 10 I have are, and these are, I think, just in alphabetical, just because I got them off the list there. After Love, Ali and Ava, Belfast, Boiling Point, Cyrano, The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne, House of Gucci, No Time to Die, Passing, and Spencer I do have in, and that one is probably the weakest link of the ones I have in right now, just because, and it's one I actually watched it last night, so so I think I'll try to mix in some reviews here and there where I can for the ones that I'm catching up with. So it's actually I can take care of 2 of them right here on this list, and a third one maybe. But first let me just finish everything with the list here. for this particular category. Spencer, I think, is a weak link here because it kind of reminds me of The Imitation Game. And not necessarily because of subject matter or anything, but just because that one at BAFTA, I remember I thought would do really well. But in retrospect, I thought about it, and Spencer kind of has the same deal here, where it's like, okay, it's a film that's kind of critical, actually, of, in this case, kind of British monarchy, and it's kind of critical about how Diana was treated by the royal family and stuff. There's not a whole lot of scenes in the movie that are like 100% dealing directly with that. Like there's not a lot of shouting scenes where like the Queen or I'm trying to think here, what's his name, Charles, or some of the other ones where they're not just like screaming at her, for her behavior or whatever. There's a couple scenes where they talk about her behavior to her face, but yeah, overall it's a film that's definitely in Diana's corner and saying, okay, look, she had problems, but on top of it, she also did get some mistreatment, arguably, from some of the royalty there and stuff. So traditionally, so why it reminded me of an Imitation Game. Imitation Game also, I think, obviously was pretty sour on the British Empire's mood as far as homosexuality, what they did to Alan Turing. In that film with the chemical castration and stuff, and his treatment, being arrested and everything at the end, all that stuff, or the stuff that's kind of set in the 50s or whatever, in that film, and it was obviously critical of that. So I think that's why some British voters were also like, "Ooh, we don't really like that," So that was kind of a theory I had after that one, because I thought it would do really well at BAFTA and get like screenplay and maybe a couple other things here and there. But British film, I think I put it down for as well. But I think it lost like every category at BAFTA. It might have won like one, like for score or something, but like that. But yeah, it just did not do that well at BAFTA at the final awards. It got plenty of nominations, but yeah. So I sense a very similar fate here for Spencer. And even then, I think just at getting to the nominations, I think it can struggle here. So, I have that one in as kind of as like a weak 10th. I think the rest of them either did well on the short list, or they're ones that typically would make the list here for British film. So I have 4 other ones that I looked at on the list of 20 that I think stand a shot. Cruella is actually one, because that did pretty well on some of the tech categories. The Duke looks like, because this, I think, screened even 2 or 3 years ago at some of these film festivals. It just from the surface, it looks like a fun film. Sometimes they do go with those. Last Night in Soho was also one that did pretty well on the short list, and then Operation Mincemeat kind of sounded like one that they might go with. So I might change my mind on that one later on and take Spencer out, or let's see, any of the other, maybe one of those like After Love or Ally and Ava, maybe one of those drop out too, and I put in a couple. But yeah, Spencer was the one I was a little weak on there, where I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay. So while we're talking about that one, let me just do a quick recap of that. This one, I really don't think I have a whole bunch to get into. This one, just overall, the score 7 out of 10 for me. I think Kristen Stewart gets probably her best chance ever at a true like big performance like this. I think she's equal to the task. I think she's really good in this, and definitely after a while, you kind of stop thinking that it's Kristen Stewart. She becomes Diana, which is a real. I think that's a good response there and stuff. So that's good praise for it and stuff. So. Yeah, she was really good in it. The camera work was really good. The score was nice and avant-garde from our usual in that category from Johnny Greenwood. Not disappointing at all for that aspect of it. Yeah, some of the camera work was really good. Where they placed the camera, some of the long takes were good. Like there's one particular shot where like a billiards ball falls down or something. That was a good shot. That's about midway through. And also, the other thing, I thought the beginning was a little slow, and it took me a while to get into it, but once I got into it, I started liking it more and more, because at first I was like, oh, I don't know, this is really slow, kind of a slow start, but then it kind of gets going, and then I did enjoy it more and more, I think, as it went on. And I think it does, kind of like The Father last year, without giving too much away here, it does kind of play with the sensibility of what is real, what is not real pretty well. There's a couple moments where it's like, okay, it kind of fools you for a minute there. And there's one other certain character that even at the end of the film, you're like, okay, because at one point something happens with one of the characters there's kind of a revelation around it. You're like, oh, here's this trope that we've seen a couple times. But they kind of, actually at the end, they kind of leave it in a way where it's like, okay, well, maybe that's not that cliche. Maybe there is something a little, a little different with that. So that, at least it leaves you guessing at the end, or, kind of leaves you to ask that question. So that was good. Only other thing I can complain, just a little complaint I had, was just the ending. Kind of, it was almost like a Lord of the Rings thing where it's like, okay, you could have ended it here, here, here. There's like 3 or 4 different singular shots that I felt could have been really good, a really good way to end it. I was also a little confused at the beginning, but again, I kind of figured it out where this was in time, because I was like, okay, at first I thought this was after the split and where she was already divorced from Charles. But it kind of slowly reveals that they're still married, but they've been kind of separated without being fully divorced and stuff. And the way it ends, again, one of those endings I thought would have been really good is a certain moment with Charles. But if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But that would have been a nice little moment there. Let's see. Otherwise, otherwise I don't really have too much else to say. I think it's a solid movie. And I think, again, Kristen Stewart is a worthy nominee if she gets in, and definitely this is the best work I've seen from her. I haven't seen everything. I haven't seen, like, Clouds of Silmaria or some of those other ones that she got really good praise for in the past few years. But yeah, this is clearly her best as far as just the size of the performance and everything else like that I've seen from her. Like, even for her, just a couple other ones like the Ang Lee one, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. I enjoyed her in that, in a supporting role, and then also in Still Alice. I thought both of those, I was like, yeah, she can act. Yeah, she can hang with everybody else. And here, yeah, this is definitely a good one from her. Okay, so that's that one. I'll get into, because I've also seen House of Gucci. I saw that Thursday. I think we talked about it in the last video. And yeah, I did hold through, and I did see that one. And this one I'm less enthusiastic about, and I don't think I can recommend this one. So I guess for the stuff I liked, I liked Adam Driver fine. Certainly with all the main actors, it's like you have to get over the accent hump, if you will. Because it's like all 5 of them, the accent's a little distracting, the kind of thick Italian accent. Especially when we get to Jared Leto, we'll get there. But I've got some things to say about that performance. But anyways, but with Adam Driver, I think his was the one I kind of got over and got used to the quickest, I think. Other than maybe Al Pacino. Both of them I thought were the better of all the performances, I think. Especially Pacino, when you get into some of his stuff in the third act, I think he actually does have some nice... It's definitely melodramatic at times and kind of soap opera. But for even on that level, I enjoyed the performance. And with Adam Driver as well, there's a couple of good, kind of big soap opera kind of moments when you get closer to the third act with him. And yeah, even, again, at that level, I thought it played fine. Lady Gaga, I think, through this film, because if you go back to 2018, 2019, when I was talking about her performance in A Star Is Born, which did not blow me over, I was not mincing words when I would say, like, okay, she hit her mark, she knew her lines, and that's it. I didn't really have much else to praise her for. Here, I'm starting to get the sense with her, I'm going to see if I can describe this, without going into way too much detail, because I know we've got a lot to cover here. But it's kind of like on the level of like a Sebastian Stan or a Gal Gadot for me, where for those two actors, through their respective films in superhero genres, I kind of, with each performance, I thought, okay, they're getting better and better as an actor. Like Sebastian Stan in the first Captain America, I thought was kind of like wooden, absolutely no charisma. I was like, okay, they could have, any model they picked off the street would have been fine in that role. Any other extra, whatever. I just didn't really get a sense of that. Then with Winter Soldier and with Civil War, I gradually saw improvement. And I was like, okay, he can actually hang. And then, of course, he gets I, Tonya. And with his work in the Falcon Winter Soldier series, I thought, yeah, he's up there now. He's like, he's an actor I enjoy seeing when he comes on screen. I'm like, okay, he can be really good. And with Gal Gadot, I think definitely in Batman v Superman, there were moments where I'm like, okay, there's a little charisma there, but... Otherwise, just from line delivery and stuff, I was like, a little shaky. And then Wonder Woman, I was like, okay, better. And she can hold her own film and everything. And then you get to Justice League, and there's actually a couple scenes in Justice League where it's actually kind of a good hook, because I think we can give it away. At the end of the first Wonder Woman, when Chris Pine sacrifices himself there's a moment in Justice League where they're talking about it or something, where Bruce Wayne kind of throws something in her face about the Chris Pine character, and you see, and her reaction, I remember I was like, damn, she's actually getting good at this. And I'm actually, the previews and stuff for the Death on the Nile movie, I'm like, I think she's there. She's made it as a legit actress now. She's not just Wonder Woman, or she's not just the underwear model or whatever. I think that's where she started. It's like, now she's Gal Gadot. Now she's an actress. And so with Lady Gaga, I think through this film, she definitely is showing, okay, this, because I was worried going into this one, it was just going to be like stunt casting with just, they got a big name kind of deal. But no, I think she actually dove into the material and did a good job with what she was given. And again, some of the performance and some of the direction, I'm sure, was in that more melodrama, soap opera material. So that stuff, just generally, I'm always a little like, okay, I have to kind of settle into that. It takes me a little while to get used to it. But, I've watched, I'm up to, I don't know. I think we talked about it, or I showed you once the Dark Shadows, the DVD collections I have of those. It's like, yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but I was like, for that show, I was kind of, I was like, I don't know, just because real quick about that, the movie came out, and then afterwards I found it on Netflix, the original soap opera, and I was like, at first I thought, well, it's a gothic soap opera, does that just mean it's just like a regular drama show? But then I'm like, no, it's definitely a soap opera. But it's like, I don't know, it kind of piqued my interest, and then I realized, oh, this is like episode 200. I'm like, why did they start with episode 200? I'm like, okay, well, that's what 210 is where Barnabas comes in or whatever, or 209, one of those. Nerd like me, I can remember the episode numbers out of a 1400 freaking episode series. But so then eventually I went back and watched the very first ones where you get Victoria and her introduction and stuff. We're getting off into the weeds here, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm just saying, yeah, if it is soap operas and stuff, it's like, okay, I have to kind of switch my mode with that. So this movie, I was like, I wasn't really expecting to get that, though, from this one. But overall, I think Gaga, there's a couple moments where she's like, look into my eyes and stuff. There's like some moments like that where I'm like, okay, I'm seeing her improve as an actress here. Would I necessarily at this point say that she belongs up there over somebody like Kristen Stewart or Jessica Chastain? No. But I don't know. Again, I'm seeing improvement here, and I'm interested to see what other project she's going to pursue after this. But interesting that she's going to be 2 for 2, very likely at this point, on Best Actress nominations for her 2 first roles there. That's how it goes sometimes. But no, this one I would say I'm in a much more comfortable boat saying, yeah, if she does get nominated for this one, I'm like, okay, I think there's enough in the performance here. I can see a little more easily where the nomination comes from versus Star is Born, at least outside of like the song category, which obviously good job on that. With the acting in that one, I was like, oh, she's really just playing herself, and even when she's not playing herself, and everything, it's like it looks like it's a little bit of a stretch for her. But here I think with everything there, I think she's improving for sure. Then we get to Jared Leto. Oh boy. This is not a great performance. I'm sorry. This is one where it's like the makeup, the prosthetics, and the accent are doing like 90% of the work, I think, here. There's really some very, very few fleeting moments where I'm like, okay, that's Jared Leto actually acting. The rest of it is just, I'm doing a lot with the accent, and I'm doing trying to audition for the Mario role that Chris Pratt has already. I don't get it. It's like it just kind of I just started laughing at it, not with it, as the film went on. There's one particular scene where he gets in an argument where he kind of comes face to face with Lady Gaga and with Adam Driver, and I'm just like I just couldn't help but just laugh at some of the dialogue and some of the and just the accent and stuff. I was just like, oh no. So this one, I'm like, okay, I can understand if people just like him as an actor and stuff, and why he can get in for that. But for me, this wasn't for me. And again, that's no discourage though to the makeup and everything. The makeup job I thought was excellent. And again, any layperson off the street who didn't see any or much of the advertising going into this and doesn't know it's Jared Leto, they're going to be completely fooled. And they're going to say, well, who is that actor? He was good. And then they'll see it was Jared Leto. But no. Otherwise, otherwise, so that's the acting and stuff. Otherwise, I thought like the first 40-ish minutes, arguably, were fine. I could see the actors were having fun and stuff. It looked like it was a fun shoot to be on, if you will. And one good thing I can say about it, This is a real pet peeve of mine that I'll notice all the time in movies is if you have an actor who's wearing real glasses, the lenses will reflect off of the stuff, or I don't know, I can't remember if it's real or fake, whichever one, the ones that reflect what's in the background, you can see reflected in their lens. So like Knives Out and The Irishman, I remember I saw like back to back, and in both cases there were moments where you're like, okay, you can clearly see the green screen reflected in the background, and it just bugs the shit out of me. It just really bugs me. But here there were a couple moments where I would assume, again, it's the real thing with the glasses and stuff. Certain characters have glasses in the movie and stuff, and I'm looking, I'm like, well, hey, it looks like there's an actual set back there, or it's a real location. So I'm like, good on to Ridley Scott for using real locations. So that's a plus. I mean, it's a small thing, but I'm like, okay, I like that. I like those little details where it's like, okay, they don't just shoot it on just a regular set where they mock up like, a third of it and the rest of it's all green screen around them and stuff. No, that's cheap. I get it. Especially in a pandemic era, it makes more sense to do it that way. And stuff like that. But here at least, okay, it looked like they were using the real sets, or at least they were completing sets if they were building them and stuff, or real locations. So that's a plus. Small things. Sometimes the small things do make an impact. Let's see. Yeah. Otherwise, after we got to that like 40-minute mark, it gets kind of boring because it's like, okay, it's like the characters are moving from Italy back to New York, back to Italy, back to New York, and it's like. And then it ends up in, I think, Switzerland or something, or one of those other European countries or something. But yeah. And the other thing, too, this kind of reminded me of, I think, as far as the whole story of it and stuff, I kind of get the sense with this one that, because I'm somebody, I didn't know the story going into this. I didn't know anything about the Gucci family. I knew about, like, Gucci bags, and I knew the very, very minimal, because that's not my wheelhouse at all. But yeah, I get the sense, though, if you're somebody who does know the story, who knows these real people, and who has read a book or a biography or whatever, or seen a miniseries or documentary about this stuff, you probably won't get much out of it. That's the experience I had, for example, with the Ted Bundy stuff, because 2019, yeah. I remember I watched the series that came out, the doc series, which was Voices of Ted Bundy or something like that, whatever. It was the same guy who directed the film, the Zac Efron film, Extremely Wicked, Vilely Evil, whatever. I can never remember the name of that one. But it's like the same guy did the documentary that also did the film. So I saw the documentary first, and I don't know, some people dumped on the documentary and said it had nothing new to offer, but it was my introduction to the whole specifics of the Ted Bundy case. I knew the general of him being, mass murderer, serial killer, got executed in the chair and stuff. I knew all that stuff, and that he was deceptive with his looks and everything. But that was a good insight into okay, these are more specifics. This is his tactics. This is what happened afterwards. This is his first escape from prison, then his second escape. Then he ended up down in Florida and all that. And it goes through it really well, I thought. So then by the time the film comes around, it's kind of like, okay, it doesn't feel like it has very much to offer. It's like, okay, we just saw a documentary on this stuff. And I'm sure for the director it had to be the same way, where it's like, okay, and maybe he ended up shooting the movie first, because I remember it was one that was shot independently and then Netflix picked up. But I don't know, it just felt like it was covering the same ground, and it really, other than a couple performances here and there, like the John Malkovich one I remember was way out to lunch. I was like, that was maybe not the best casting choice for that role, but yeah, I really didn't see much value in it besides that. It was entertaining enough as it was going on, but otherwise it really was kind of spinning its wheels as far as giving you new material and new stuff to work with. And I feel like that would be the case here for House of Gucci as well, where it's like, okay, all that stuff, it's like, yeah. And again, yeah, none of the performances really like stood out as like great performances to me. If anything, I liked, there was one investor kind of guy who's brought in the third act who was like helping out at Tiffany's or something. They kind of briefly go into it. That actor I liked, and that just that performance I thought was good. And I don't know who that actor is, but I hope he gets some good work, because I liked him in this. But just performance-wise and stuff. But yeah, otherwise, I really don't think I have much else to say about this one. I was close. It's like I'm between a 4 and a 5 on it, and I guess out of 10, I guess I'll go 4. There was just enough stuff that kind of lost interest for me and everything. And the Salma Hayek character also, I would say, could have been cut. I really didn't see much that they couldn't have worked a little bit and made it so that everything that character did in the story, which was actually not much, it's like maybe one thing at the end that she does that actually impacts something. The rest of it is just kind of background stuff. That stuff you almost could have completely cut out, and then you lose 6-7 minutes of the movie there, because again, this is like a 2 hour, almost 2 hour, 40-minute movie, and it really did not need to be. And yeah, that definitely could have helped with the pacing and some of those issues as well. Okay, otherwise, one other thing I was going to say is Passing. I tried to watch that one, and for whatever stupid reason, I checked it, I plugged in my internet like 3 times, and that son of a bitch would not buffer and would not play very well. I don't know what it was. It was a struggle for me, and it kind of irritated me because I don't know, because I got like it would get to the point where it would play like 20 seconds, then it would buffer for 30 seconds, and then it would do the same thing, and then every once in a while it would play for 2.5 minutes, and then it would buffer again for like a minute before it started again, and it was like so annoying. And again, no matter what I did with the internet, it was just not working. I tried, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's just my whole internet. So then I watched like a couple of YouTube videos, no breaks, no interruptions, no buffering, nothing. So I'm like, okay, there's something with this, whatever. And I struggled through about like 33 minutes of it, which took like an hour to get to that point, something more like that. And unfortunately with this one, it just was really not catching my interest either. I mean, from what it looks like Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga both are giving fine performances from what I've seen. Maybe, again, their best stuff comes later in the movie, because it didn't look like it was a super long movie or anything, but I was just like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to bail on this one, just because it was taking forever, it wasn't loading, and it wasn't really holding my interest early. So I guess that one I might try to come back to at another time and try to figure out if there's a different way I can watch it or something, because the one way I was trying to watch it there, it was just not working. So, okay, so that's kind of my mulligan for that one. Okay, so now that we've gone through all that, I think we're all caught up. Let's see, let's move on here to the director race for BAFTA. So we have 6 slots here. I'm going to go, let's see if I know all these directors. I think I do. I'm going to try to pronounce the one director's name here. You'll figure it out. Okay. So Jane Campion, I think, is the front runner right now for Power of the Dog. I think, generally speaking, yeah, after the Globe win and everything, I think she can get out front early here and kind of hold through the rest of the season. I can kind of see that happening. And then let's see if I can. No, that's not going to help me. Okay, the guy who directed Drive My Car, I have him in second. It's Miyaguchi, something like that. I'll get to it because I put him in for Best Director at the Oscars too. I just looking at this though, and I'll get to it. But I think again, I think one of these foreign directors I think is going to get in. I think that one feels like that could be it. Then I have Denis Villeneuve in third for Dune. I have Kenneth Branagh in fourth for Belfast. Steven Spielberg in fifth for West Side Story. And I'm putting Maggie Gyllenhaal in for Lost Daughter. That one I'm a little shakier on. The one I was going to go with is actually the guy who directed Hand of God, which is... Oh, I don't want to... No, I can't put 7 in. Gold Derby. I was trying to see if it gave me details on the director's name, but it wasn't really coming up. Because, yeah, I can't click on it without trying to add it, which I know it's not going to let me because you can only put 6 in. But Paulo Sorrentino, I think that sounds about right. Because I looked at it, and actually Hand of God does have an editing in the long list there at BAFTA, too. So that if that one gets in over the Drive My Car, over Gyllenhaal, and a couple of the other ones here, that's the one I'm going to go with at the Oscars. I think that one can happen. But no, for now, I have these 6. Otherwise, I think we have Paul Thomas Anderson, I think, is kind of close here. The rest of them, I think, are kind of fighting for that affection there. So I think that's about it for those 8 different directors there. Let's see, in the acting categories, I actually have Benedict Cumberbatch out front right now for Power of the Dog. Will Smith might just get on that steamroll and just win it all, but I can see Cumberbatch winning over here at BAFTA. Will Smith I do have in second, then Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. I have Javier Bardem getting in over here for being the Ricardos, Stephen Graham for Boiling Point, and in sixth place I have Peter Dinklage for Cyrano. So, hold the phone. Yes, I don't have Denzel in here, but guess what? Look back at your history. Look back at everything. Like, I totally forget every time. Denzel does not do well here at BAFTA. He has never gotten a single nomination, ever, over here at BAFTA. That's right. Never gotten a nomination. Even when Fences, which looked like an undeniable one, that one didn't get in. That one struggled over here. Now, Viola Davis didn't struggle. She won her category. But still, Denzel does not get nominated here. So don't... and true, this is the first time he's gotten in here when we have the long list, so that might benefit him. We'll see. But I am not gonna I'm not gonna fall for that at this point. So so that's why I don't have him in, because he does not do well here at BAFTA. So that might be one that we all overlook, and he misses, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I got that one right. But no, and I'm not rooting against him or anything. But just at this point, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, I think these other six are in better shape. Otherwise, some people like Adil Akhtar for Ali and Ava. Some people like Riz Ahmed for Encounter getting that fifth or sixth slot, but I'm going to go with the six I have. Then in Best Actress, I have Nicole Kidman out front right now for being the Ricardos, then Jessica Chastain, Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Renee Renvy for The Worst Person in the World. I'm going to try that pronunciation. Lady Gaga for House of Gucci, and in sixth place, Rachel Zegler for West Side Story. So yeah, I'm also skipping Kristen Stewart here for Best Actress. And that's based on how Spencer did on the long list here, and also the fact that she missed SAG. So I think part of that too, remember, I think the direct comparison we can make here is Regina King for the Beale Street, if Beale Street could talk, where she also missed BAFTA and also missed SAG, but still won. That's going to be a little more difficult for Kristen Stewart, because she doesn't have the Globe win. And there's an argument that she might win. She might win at Critics' Choice, but otherwise, that's going to be her last shot. And and I think the thing with that is, when we're comparing it, Spencer, where it's at in the Best Picture lineup compared to where Beale Street was at this time, Beale Street was kind of starting to fall out, but we still knew it was going to get a couple other nominations, at least, for like cinematography, score. I think that was it, actually, that year. But with Spencer, we're really questioning this thing even getting, at this point, I would say there's a chance it gets nothing on Oscar morning. Kristen Stewart could fall out. Costume design, it's a more modern costume design. Now, sure, costumes do play kind of a role in the film there, but it's more like 90s or maybe late 80s, somewhere in there. It's less like 60s, 50s, so stuff like French Dispatch and West Side Story and some of these other ones are going to stand, I think, a better shot there. And on top of the score, since Johnny Greenwood has Power of the Dog, they might just skip over Spencer and he gets in for Power of the Dog, or he crosses himself out and doesn't get either one. So, and really at this point, I think those are the only three categories where I think Spencer has a good shot. Everything else is a long shot at this point. So, plus, yeah, so I'm very much questioning that for her getting a spot here. Otherwise, Tessa Thompson for Passing could just get in. Both her and Ruth Negga could both get in. That's a possibility as well. Joanna Scanlon for After Love has gotten some votes here. Jennifer Hudson for Respect also I can see getting in here. But yeah, that one's a little tougher for nailing down who the six are. In Supporting Actor, which is again kind of a crazy race here, Cody Smith-McPhee is my frontrunner right now. Troy Kutzer in second. Ciarán Hinds in third for Belfast, followed by Jamie Dornan, also for Belfast. I have Jared Leto in there. And in sixth, I'm actually going to go not with Mike Faist from West Side Story, but instead David Alvarez. And I don't really know why. Just something tells me that. And I looked at the rest of the list here. You have like Bradley Cooper, who Licorice Pizza did fine here on the short lists, long list, I should say. You have Woody Norman for Come On, Come On. You got Mike Faist. You've got Jesse Plemons. You got Andrew Garfield for Eyes of Tammy Faye. Mark Rylance, J.K. Simmons, and Al Pacino kind of filling out the rest of them here. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, none of those are making sense to me right now. I think if I didn't name him, Benicio del Toro is also on there. And French Dispatch, even though it has a bunch just a buttload of possibilities there in those tech categories. I don't really see it above the line getting much support. So, so David Alvarez for now. Okay, let's move on to the casting category. That'll be a fun one here. And this is only like the third year they've had this category, so this is a weird one. The 5 I have right now are West Side Story, Coda, Belfast, Don't Look Up, and The Lost Daughter. And this is a weird one. So like something like Boiling Point, I think stands a good shot. Power of the Dog obviously could just sneak in there. Dune, I think, has a shot. Licorice Pizza has a shot. Some people like After Love and Passing here. It's a weird category. So it's kind of like whichever ones get in. Okay, we got good on you for predicting them, but that's about it. Let's see here. Let's go to the screenplay categories here. For original screenplay, I'm going with Belfast, Being the Ricardos, Licorice Pizza, Don't Look Up, and Parallel Mothers. Yeah, and I think that right now those are the 5 popular picks right now. French Dispatch, King Richard, I think stand a good shot as well. After Love could get in there as well. And then maybe if Hand of God overperforms, I'm going to remind myself here, that is not in the list for film, is it? It is not. No, okay. But if that one gets like director, if it somehow lands that editing nomination and it gets screenplay, okay, that's a sign where I'm like, okay, take that one at least 1 or 2 categories at the Oscars. Definitely, I would say definitely at that point I would go. International film is a pretty good bet right now, but also I would say director. But we'll go from there. For the adapted category, I have Power of the Dog, The Lost Daughter, Coda, Drive My Car, and Dune getting in there, which is weird because I think West Side Story almost seems like a natural to get in there, but I don't know. I'm like, you know what? Dune might appeal more to the British voters and stuff. And I think Dune as a novel, I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, at least it has a sensibility where maybe European audiences and stuff might appreciate the source material and stuff a little bit more. It might be a little more popular over there than versus here. And I'm sure that's nothing against like American readers not going after Dune or anything over the years, but yeah. Otherwise, Passing and Tragedy of Macbeth could get in there. No Time to Die. Some people like. I'm a little more skeptical of that one getting a screenplay nod. Even something like Tick Tick Boom and or maybe not House of Gucci, but more Tick Tick Boom. Well, actually, House of Gucci does have a bunch of those long-listed tech categories too. So that one maybe sticks around and gets a screenplay nomination. Okay. Let's see. The last one here on the Gold Derby side is the 4 nominees for animated feature. So I have Encanto, Flea, Luca, and Mitchell's vs. the Machines are my 4 right now. And again, I think early on we were all pegging those, and seems like that's the way most everybody's going with these. So that's not too big a surprise. Okay. So now I did my homework here on the tech categories because again, there's no Gold Derby comparison at least yet. So these I'm just going with what feels right, at least what looked good off the long list and stuff. So cinematography, and again these are all just going to be alphabetical because I just took them from the list. Belfast, Dune, The Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. These are the 5 I have at the Oscars right now. I would imagine that these 5, maybe -1, something else could get in at like the Cinematographers Guild as well. They all feel like they're the typical ones that could get in at a Cinematographers Guild. Otherwise, the ones I'm close on here, French Dispatch is probably the one I would sub in first. Last Duel as a possibility. Nightmare Alley as a possibility, and No Time to Die are the other 4 I have that I'm thinking about in this category. For costume design, I have Cruella, Dune, The French Dispatch, House of Gucci, and West Side Story. So I think here on the other possibilities, this one's a little longer. I've got 6 other ones that I'm looking at here as possible. Belfast, just because Belfast might do even better here than it does at the Oscars. So costume design might just be one of those, like Joker. Remember, that one did really well at the Oscars there. Just kind of snuck into that category and was just like, yeah, here you go, Joker. So not to say that, obviously, the subject matter is the exact same, but that could be one that happens here at BAFTA for Belfast. Cyrano might do a little better here at BAFTA as well than it does at the Oscars. Again, that one is maybe also risking getting no nominations if it's Javier Bardem over Peter Dinklage in the Best Actor category. Otherwise, it would have to, like, the makeup category would have to miss, and I think production design would probably have to miss too. Last Night in Soho, again, did fine here on the long list. It even got an acting bid for Anya Taylor-Joy. So they like that one. So that one might get in here. Power of the Dog might get in there just as a front runner status kind of thing, where it could just kind of just start nailing some of these categories. Nightmare Alley, I would also not blink at getting in here, and Spencer maybe, but again, that one is a little more hit and miss here through some of these categories, so that one I'm a little shakier on, but I'm going to include it just because I have it right now at the Oscars. Editing category, I have Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. The ones that are close here, I think, are French Dispatch, House of Gucci, again, just in case, No Time to Die, and Tick, Tick, Boom. In the makeup category, we have Cruella, Dune, Eyes of Tammy Faye, House of Gucci, and then No Time to Die. And yeah, the No Time to Die one, I just feel like just because that one's, since it's Bond, I think that one can do a little better here again at BAFTA than elsewhere. Being the Ricardos, Coming to America, The French Dispatch, and Last Night in Soho are also a couple ones I would watch out for there in makeup. In the score category, I have Don't Look Up, Dune, The French Dispatch, No Time to Die, and Power of the Dog. Close ones here, I think, are The Harder They Fall, The Last Duel, Nightmare Alley, and Spencer. I'm a little more confident in this category, though. That feels like that could be the lineup there for score. For production design, we have Belfast, Cyrano, Dune, The French Dispatch, and West Side Story. So I'm only looking at 3 other possibles here. Last Duel, Nightmare Alley, and Tragedy of Macbeth right now. You'll notice Nightmare Alley's not doing so hot here. Yeah, it got longlisted just to 4 categories. I think there's a chance it misses all 4 of those. Obviously, the production design is probably the easiest one it could get. Let's see. Otherwise, what are the other 3? I think are just cinematography, right? Yeah, I think I've all the ones all the 4 ones of the list it's on I have as a close possibility in there. So yeah, so it's just cinematography, costume design, production design, and score. And it didn't make the short list for score at the Oscars, so we know. If any of these 3 get in at any of these 4 get in, at BAFTA, only 3 can repeat over if they all go all the way to the Oscars. Just for that little tidbit there. Let's see here. So I think it was Last Duel, Nightmare Alley, and Tragedy of Macbeth for possibles there for production design. And I think at the Oscars I have 4 of those. I have French Dispatch, Dune, Belfast, and West Side. Or no, do I have Belfast? Or no, I have Nightmare Alley. No. I have Nightmare Alley, Tragedy of Macbeth, missing at BAFTA, but getting the Oscar nomination. 3 of them carry over. Let's see. So that just leaves 2 categories. Visual effects, I have Dune, The Matrix Resurrections, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and I have Suicide Squad getting in over Eternals. French Dispatch could just get in there. And also The King's Man could be one that just gets in there for visual effects, just because it's, kind of a later release and stuff. Eternals is the last one I saw, by the way, of the recent films and stuff. Real quick getting into that one, I feel like this one I can almost wrap up the easiest. I felt like for that one, I think I enjoyed the first half actually pretty well. The Marvel humor came through. Getting introduced to all these characters was nice, and I think they did a fairly good job at that. There's a bit of bouncing back and forth between kind of present day and all these different time periods from when the Eternals showed up all the way up to, I think, like 1500 or something. Somewhere around there, 1600, something like that. They get to the point where where humanity has developed like rifles and guns and stuff, so it gets up to that point. And I felt like the first half was pretty good. Definitely a couple things here and there that kind of bugged me a little bit, but it was still an entertaining movie. I thought Kumail Nanjiani was really good in this. A really good choice for your kind of comic relief character. I was interested in like the Sprite character. The Icarus character I got interested in. I just generally felt like, these were kind of starting to grow on me as characters and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this will be, and I don't think I'm giving way too much away here, but it was also kind of nice to see a Marvel movie that did not have other Marvel characters showing up. I guess that's kind of maybe a minor spoiler, but yeah, even through the post-credit scenes and stuff, there are 2 of them, we don't see like we saw. I guess we can give this away. Shang-Chi. We don't see like Mark Ruffalo or Brie Larson show up, or Wong, Benedict Wong, or I guess it would be Abomination was the other one in that one. Oh, and of course Trevor from Iron Man 3, Ben Kingsley, who was spectacular in that. I loved his performance in that. Anyways, but getting back to this one though with the Eternals, I felt the second half is where the seams started to really fall apart on me. And it really felt like, even though this was a 2 hour and 35-ish minute film with credits and stuff, I really felt like there was some stuff that happened in the second half that just really did not click. I mean, just stuff that it's like, okay, all of a sudden we're doing this. All of a sudden this happens. This big thing, the whole ending kind of battle sequence or whatever that happens, the whole end, every Marvel movie has that. It's like something significant happens, but there's like almost no world reaction. It's like, okay, nobody knows this is happening right now. It's like that didn't feel right. And yeah, like I said, there's certain things, like certain characters do stuff, and it's like, okay, there's almost no setup to why that character would make that decision at this point, or why this character would do this. At the end of this, why is this character going off and doing that? It's like, it doesn't really make sense. It's not really cueing in. And plus, there's one part where a character, I won't reveal who, kind of leaves the group, like absolutely abandons them and says, hey, I'm not having any part of this anymore. And yet they're chums with that character at the end of the film. It's like, okay, what? Didn't he just abandon you, and now you're doing this? He or she? Sorry, I won't reveal the gender of the person that does that. It's like, why are you? Why? It's like, it doesn't make sense. Just generally, I thought the second half is where some of the stuff really started to come apart. And everything. But otherwise, I did like the Brian Tyree Henry character I got into as well. I kind of enjoyed him. He's kind of missing for a while there. He's kind of the last one to get reintroduced. But and it takes a while to get to him. But that character I thought was a little more interesting. He's kind of the tinkerer kind of character, coming up with all the pistons and engines and stuff through the years and everything. Eventually does give them guns and an even bigger weapon, which is kind of a nice moment. Yeah, and it does bring up the issue of, okay, so you have these characters, these 10 Eternals, that are here on Earth for all these just centuries, and yet they don't do anything during like real life events like 9/11 or some of this other stuff. You can name off all the tragedies and stuff, Hindenburg and Titanic, and like name all the stuff that's happened over the years. Plenty of stuff. They don't do anything there, or they don't do anything with the world wars, or they don't do anything with all the other major conflicts and stuff, like the burning of the house or the Library of Alexander and all that. It's like all this stuff through humanity's history. We're like, okay, we could have used somebody's help here. It's like, no, why don't they do that? And the effect that has of just kind of sitting on the sidelines and letting things happen, I thought was a really interesting idea, and I think they touched on it, I think, enough to cover it. It didn't leave me wanting, like, 10 more scenes of that or anything. I don't think... that would have been probably redundant to do that much, but it's like, at least they explored it and stuff, and they didn't just totally leave you open, or leave it out there where it's like, okay, well, we don't know what they did, because it doesning matter. No, I thought they did a good job covering all that. So, so that's good. And the effects, I thought, were actually really good. Chloe Zhao's direction was pretty good. Actually, the one Eternal I wish they'd done more with was, and I don't know her name, but the one who does sign language, the deaf actress, who's from Sound of Metal last year, and she had a small role in that, but she comes back in this. I was looking forward to her because I thought she did a really nice job in that small role in that film. I'm like, I can't wait to see her have a bigger role here in a Marvel movie where it's like more people are going to see her, and I hope she is equal to the task and everything, because I liked her through the film there. And in this one, it's like, yeah, she's in it, but not very much. When she does stuff, it's cool, and she does a good job, and she's got a good chemistry with everybody. And generally, I think between the cast, yeah, there is generally a good chemistry that goes on. But yeah, there's stuff that kind of falls apart there when we get to the second half. So early on, I'm gonna look at it again. Not the film. I don't think I need to watch it all over again. But because I when I first came off of it, I was like, ooh, maybe it's worse than Thor 2. I put it like way down on my Marvel list. Actually, it's only above. Oh boy, let's see if I can remember. I think it's third to last. I think I put it above Iron Man 2 and above Incredible Hulk, which are my two least favorites. But I don't know. And thinking about it over the last couple days and stuff, because I saw it Saturday night, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should give it a little more credit than that, because I think some of the more positive stuff stuck with me than the negative stuff and everything there. But yeah. Again, I would still say the first half is still much better than the second half. The second half does have some story stuff that just doesn't work out and all that. But It's overall, I think it's a 6 out of 10. It's a good enough film there where I think just enough stuff works over the stuff that doesn't work. So that one, I get a recommendation, but this is not one of the strongest Marvel projects of late. Even What If, I was also a little iffy on, if that's a pun. But that one I wasn't really a huge fan of either lately. I felt like with that one, without getting too far into it, I just felt like there was a real, because this is a what if universe, it's like you can really F up the storylines and really do some new interesting things. But instead it's just like, okay, the kind of the same general story points happen, it's just a different characters at the center of it. Okay, and maybe a little twist here and there happens with the storyline, but it just generally it didn't keep me on my toes at all through much of the series. There's really, as all that goes, it's like there weren't all that many moments that made me like, oh, surprised, shocked, or whatever. It's like there was like almost none of that for me for that one. Still good animation and stuff, and it was nice to hear most of the voices return. I'd say 90% of the characters there are voiced by their the real counterparts and stuff. But yeah, that one I was a little shakier on. Anyhow, so that's my feelings on that one and stuff. Let's see, so that just leaves the sound category. So here I have the 5 being Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, Tick, Tick, Boom, and West Side Story, which I believe are the 5 I have in at the Oscars right now as well. And that feels like a good fit, because almost all these did okay, at least on the long list and stuff. But this one, though, I do feel like if any one of them falls out, there's a whole bunch of films that could fill that slot. So here we go. Quiet Place Part 2, I think, could get in there. I'm going to look up, I can't remember, did the first Quiet Place, I know it got just the one sound editing nomination at the Oscars, but did that first one get the nomination at BAFTA? I thought it might have. It did. Okay, it got in at BAFTA. So, okay, so that's definitely a consideration point. If the first one can get in, maybe the second one can. And the second one is also shortlisted for the sound category at the Oscars. Coda, maybe, just because of the music and stuff, that could get in. French Dispatch, again, if it just does a tear here on these tech categories. The Harder They Fall, I think the sound design is actually pretty good in that. Last Duel, maybe. Last Night in Soho, maybe. And Matrix Resurrections, maybe. Just, again, that one got on the short list at the Oscars, so that could carry over. Okay, clear as mud. I know, it's kind of early. These were announced less than a week ago, so yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on these through the rest of the season here. Again, we've got till, I think it's the 3rd of February. I think we looked this up last time and couldn't find it, but very easily. It was February 3rd is when these are officially announced for who the finalists are for the categories. Okay, so I feel like that should do it for all that stuff. So now let's... I'm going to go ahead... We'll go through all 23 categories here at the Oscars and just give some updates here. And again, some of the stuff is less on, okay, new inclusion. Some of it is just switching around the positions for that stuff. Okay, speaking of which, I'm going to make one quick change here for placement. And then I think... Okay, one more change. One more change. One more change. Okay, here we go. Because this is the Best Picture is probably the one category I did not look at the longest. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm good with the 10 I have, and I didn't look at the placement here. Okay, so I'm still keeping Belfast as your front runner here, even though it didn't do extremely, extremely well at the Globes. Power of the Dog I have in 2nd. West Side Story I bumped up to 3rd. Coda I have in 4th. Dune in 5th. Licorice Pizza in 6th. Don't Look Up in 7th. King Richard in 8th. And 2 newbies, House of Gucci and Being the Ricardos in 9th and 10th, respectively. So I dropped Tick, Tick, Boom, and I dropped Nightmare Alley from my list here. Now, with House of Gucci, with the SAG Ensemble nomination, plus the 2 that got in, and it doing so well at the BAFTA long list, including getting 2 supporting actors, lead actor and lead actress long listed there. It didn't get director over there, but that's about the only other spot it missed. And then maybe, I think it was in for score. I was trying to think of some of these other tech categories where maybe it doesn't have a high chance right now at the Oscars, or it didn't make the short list. But that one is sticking around. It's made its money. And I'll tell you what, I feel like that one, again, I kind of named it last Wednesday there as a dark horse to kind of sneak in there, but I looked at it again, I'm like, I'm putting that one in. Yeah. Then in 10th place, we have Being the Ricardos. And this one, I feel like this one is sticking around. It looks like it's looking a little more secure for getting at least one, more like it's getting closer to getting two acting nominations. Screenplay is looking much brighter now for Aaron Sorkin. Early on, I was a little dismissive of it. Just like, okay, sure, it looks good early, but we're always kind of that way with Aaron Sorkin. And it could end up to bite me on the ass later if he doesn't get in. But just looking at that category again, I'm like, he's looking a lot more solid now. So, and it can even possibly get something else there in the tech categories here and there. It could sneak in. So, and by the way, this is where I was talking with PGA. If I right now had to list 10 films getting in at PGA, it's these 10. I think it's these 10. Because House of Gucci is a moneymaker, and PGA does like moneymakers. So that one, Dune was also made a little bit of money as well here. Some of the other ones, again, have struggled here, or they're just on streaming. But yeah, generally speaking, yeah, that one feels like, those are your two moneymakers. Otherwise, for moneymakers that could get into PGA, just real quick, and could still obviously land an Oscar nomination, maybe not in that order. Well, yeah, in that order. For the ones that can make PGA, I'll just start with that. The other ones that I'm looking at could make PGA. Tick, Tick, Boom is one I think we can't overlook. Nightmare Alley could still land a PGA nomination and miss Best Picture. Tragedy of Macbeth, I would say possibly. I'm a little less on that one. Spider-Man, if they just go with the big moneymaker like a Wonder Woman, stuff like that, then okay, that could make the PGA list for sure. And No Time to Die, I think, if we're looking at just moneymakers and stuff. That one could make the PGA list, and I would actually not be too shocked. Yeah. Otherwise, here for Best Picture, I think the only other one I would say that we haven't named yet that could sneak in there is maybe if Drive My Car does have a little bit more support than we're looking at early. Yeah, but right now I'm looking at it like, okay, it could kind of be like Cold War, where it gets the two nominations there for director and for international film. And I believe that's the only two it got. Oh, it got cinematography, that's right. Yeah, it did a little better at BAFTA. I think it got 3 or 4 nominations there, something like that. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, so that's that one. For the director list, yeah, for a while I had this at Jane Campion, Kenneth Branagh, Denis Villeneuve, Steven Spielberg, and Paul Thomas Anderson. But I'm looking at it now, I'm like, okay, Raisuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car. I'm looking at that one. As long as it gets the BAFTA nomination, I think so. If he gets in and Paulo Sorrentino gets in, okay, then it's a little tougher. Then I'm like, okay, then I have to make a decision there because I don't necessarily see both of them getting in over Spielberg, over possibly Denis Villeneuve, possibly over Kenneth Branagh. I don't think so. But yeah, so that puts PTA kind of on the hot spot right now for Close But No Cigar. Guillermo del Toro actually might come back. A DGA nomination would definitely help him. Sian Heder I would not be too dismissive of. Maggie Gyllenhaal I wouldn't dismiss outright. Yeah, that's probably actually about it for now. Okay, for the acting races, I think I did the switch live last time, so I know it's now Will Smith, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Denzel Washington, and Peter Dinklage in that order. So yeah, Dinklage is kind of the one to go right now. If I'm going to drop him, it would obviously be Javier Bardem I would go to for Being the Ricardos. I think Being the Ricardos for the next films I have to watch, by the way, outside of Nightmare Alley, Licorice Pizza, and West Side Story, which are still in theaters right now. The next two I would get to is actually Tick, Tick, Boom and King Richard, and then it would be Being the Ricardos. I'm going just by release date here. So yeah. Yeah, I think Being the Ricardo, I think that's probably... After that, it gets a little tougher, because like Nicolas Cage has not really stuck around. He didn't get like a SAG nomination or anything that really would have helped him. Mahershala Ali has not stuck around either. I think the only way he can still get in is if he gets a BAFTA nomination somehow, but even then, yeah, like some of his other films that he's been in, like Green Book and Moonlight, have not done spectacularly well over there at BAFTA. I don't think it's necessarily something on him, but it's just like that's about the only other thing I can compare to there. So that one feels like, yeah, we're kind of narrowing that one down. Best Actress, I don't think we're quite ready to narrow this one down very well. So now that Kristen Stewart has kind of lost some momentum here, I'm going with the momentum of Nicole Kidman right now for being the Ricardos out front. And again, we talked about it last time. This would be her first Oscar win in 19 years. So it kind of does feel like it's not obviously the length of time that we had between like Meryl Streep, who had 29 years between her second and third Oscar win, if memory and the math works out. Let's see. Otherwise, trying to think, who are the other ones that had gap years like that? Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I'll try to look into this a little more next time, and we'll see. Yeah. So maybe it's actually on the shorter side, because I was thinking, Frances McDormand was another one I named last time too. She had 21 years, I think, in between Fargo and Three Billboards. So yeah, that might benefit somebody like Jessica Chastain, who might get her first win for Eyes of Tammy Faye. Olivia Colman I have in third, then Kristen Stewart in fourth for Spencer, and then Lady Gaga in fifth for House of Gucci. So I dropped Penelope Cruz, who was also not on the BAFTA long list. So that one is really just going to depend on the voters actually catching it. And right now it doesn't. It kind of feels like the last year. The one Diane Warren had the song for it, and it won at the Globes. Shoot, I can't remember her name. Whichever one that one was last year, the Italian one. God, I can't even remember the actress's name. Sophia Loren. Yeah, the Sophia Loren one from last year. It kind of feels like that, where it's like, okay, if it's going to be that fifth slot, I don't know. It just, that one had almost no momentum going into it, so I feel like that's kind of the same story right now for Penelope Cruz. Otherwise, I would still say Rachel Zegler, Jennifer Hudson, and Elena Heim are still in the hunt here for Best Actress. All three of them are longlisted at BAFTA, so if any one of them get in, I think that that kind of becomes the one that can get in over Kristen Stewart, I think. It just depends on how long they can ride that momentum out. Yeah. Let's see. Let's move on to Supporting Actor, which is a fun category, and I'm really not sure on this one. Jared Leto, I still have out front just because I'm not willing to give up yet. But I can't deny Cody Smith-McPhee. I've moved up to second place now just because it feels like he could just get on a track and just win everything. Ciarán Hinds in third for Belfast. Troy Kutzer in fourth for Coda. I probably should switch those two because Troy's gotten in everywhere. And then Jamie Dornan is my fifth place one. So yeah. That does leave like Bradley Cooper out, Ben Affleck out, who've both gotten a couple nominations here this year, or at least one. Cooper's only got the SAG nomination. Mike Faist, I think some people still like. Jesse Plemons, getting the BAFTA long list helped keep him in the conversation, but if he doesn't make it there, I really don't see him getting the Oscar nomination. J.K. Simmons being the Ricardos, maybe, but he's only really got the Critics' Choice nomination right now. And I think after that, it's kind of a lost cause for everybody else. For Supporting Actress, I'm sticking with my five. Just, again, switching the order here. Ariana DeBose I have out front right now. Seems like she's got a lot of momentum, because it's like not only does she have the Globe win and a few critics wins, she also has an SNL, just hosted SNL, I believe, or it's next week. I thought it was this last week. So it's like, okay, she seems to be riding a good wave of momentum right now. Kirsten Dunst in second place. Catriona Balfe in fourth for Belfast, Aljon Ellis in fourth, and then in fifth place is Marlee Matlin for Coda. And that's just on the strong coattails kind of theory still. Otherwise, Rita Moreno, Ruth Negga, and Dowd, I would still say, yeah, look out for them. Definitely. Let's see here. Otherwise, let's see here. Otherwise, it gets a little tougher after that. Let's see here. I was thinking, did I, for some weird reason, I felt like I didn't talk about the supporting categories at BAFTA or something. Did I skip over those? Oh, hang on, I'm in the wrong list here. Just for whatever reason, my short-term memory is kicking in saying, hey, you didn't get to this, dumbass. Boy, I don't think, maybe we did. I thought we did. Did I skip Supporting Actress, maybe? Okay, just in case, let me cover that. Because it's 6 slots there. Wow, I don't think I got to this, did I? Okay, good thing I caught this. Ariana DeBose for BAFTA I have out front. Then Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter. She's gotten a BAFTA nomination before. Kirsten Dunst in third. Vinette Robinson for Boiling Point I have in there. Catriona Balfe and Ruth Negga I have in there. Yeah, so that's that one. Boy, I think I skipped that one. So maybe I'm just covering that one a second time, but I don't know. Just looking at that list, I was like, Wait a second. Something didn't click right for me there. Okay, let's move on to the screenplay categories here. This is back to the Oscars now. Okay, Licorice Pizza I still have out front, then Belfast. King Richard I'm still holding on to in third place, but I'm thinking probably Being the Ricardos is a better fit for third. And then, so Being the Ricardos then being fourth. And then Don't Look Up I'm having fifth place again just because the rest of this list really looks like you've got a really, really tough hill to climb. If you're a film like Mass, which is really losing all momentum. Come On, which has really struggled. Parallel Mothers, which is not getting a lot of momentum early. French Dispatch, which doesn't really seem like it's got a lot of strong momentum. Definitely not the momentum that Grand Budapest had at this time in that race. Yeah, after that, it gets really tough. Let's see, adapted screenplay. The five I have here are Power of the Dog, Coda, The Lost Daughter, West Side Story, and Tragedy of Macbeth. So I don't have Drive My Car or Dune in there yet. And I don't have Nightmare Alley in there. Otherwise, again, other than maybe Tick, Tick, Boom, if that one sticks around, I don't really see the other ones being a huge, huge threat there. Let's see. Let's get to the feature categories next here. Let's see. So I have to hop around a little bit on this. Animated feature. I'm looking at possibly moving Encanto up. Right now, I'm still holding on to Luca as the front runner. Just because it seems like that one was out earlier, and sometimes the earlier releases sometimes do a little better here. So Encanto, I think, is a close second, so I'm going to keep that where it's at right now. Mitchells versus the Machines in fourth, Belle in third, I should say, for Mitchells and Machines. Fourth is Belle, and in fifth place is Flea. So again, I'm sticking with my whole Ray and the Last Dragon not getting in theory there. And after that, it's probably not much else that I'm worried about right now. In documentary feature, I have Summer of Soul as my frontrunner, followed by Flea, The Velvet Underground, The Rescue, and Ascension as my five. A couple other ones here that people like in this category so far are The First Wave, Procession, Attica, and Julia, which I had Julia in for a little while there, but then I dropped that one. In the international feature category, I really don't think I'm going to move off any of these five. It's maybe I might switch the order around a little bit, but it's Drive My Car, The Worst Person in the World, A Hero, Flea, and The Hand of God. Again, I'm not really hearing a bunch of arguments for any of the other 10 here, other than maybe Compartment Number 6, which has gotten like the Globe nomination over. I think what was the one that missed at the Globes? I can't remember, but that got in over one of them at the Globes. And I'm Your Man is the other one that some people like. That's the one from Spain, I believe, that got in over Parallel Mothers, or was chosen over Parallel Mothers by Spain. Okay, let's move on to the tech categories now. In cinematography, Dune is still my front runner right now. Then Tragedy of Macbeth, Belfast, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I would say, Spencer, after having seen that one, that would be a nice inclusion. I don't know if I would necessarily knock out any of these. I haven't seen West Side Story or Tragedy of Macbeth yet, but the other three I've seen. I don't know if I would necessarily... Maybe over Power of the Dog. I could argue that one. I could argue I like the cinematography better in that than I did Power of the Dog. Otherwise, Nightmare Alley could also just get in there. From the previous stuff, a very nice looking film in that way. Let's see. In the editing category, my five are Dune, Belfast, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story, and Licorice Pizza. Don't Look Up is one I'm looking at as a possibility here. Nightmare Alley could still sneak in there. Tick, Tick, Boom and King Richard are both going to have an argument there too. And actually one that we might sleep on, if it does do a little better, if for whatever reason... If Spider-Man No Way Home actually gets a couple, gets like the visual effects and stuff, don't forget this is the one category that kind of fooled us the year of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, where it got into the film editing category. All of a sudden, we're like, oh shit, it's a Best Picture nominee. It went all the way, and then it kind of petered out after that. But that was like a weird, whoa, okay. So that could be a deceptive one that we might not think about, but might get in there. So just to name that one. In the costume design category, I'm going to stick with House of Gucci out front here, actually, over a couple other contenders. But I think I think I like that one actually in this category because it's the costumes are a little more out front. Now, one I have not seen, and I have it in second place right now, is Cruella. So I'm going to switch a couple of... I thought I had done all this switching earlier, but I guess I didn't in some categories. Dune I have in third, then West Side Story. Spencer I have hanging in there in fifth, but... Boy, I mean, I'm looking at, like, French Dispatch looks like it could really get in there. Cyrano could get in there. Nightmare Alley makes sense. Tragedy of Macbeth even makes sense. Belfast and Power of the Dog could just sneak in there. And again, kind of like Joker, just kind of get one of those nominations just because they like the film that much. Could be. Let's see. In the production design category, I do have Nightmare Alley still out front here. Then Dune, then French Dispatch, then West Side Story, then Tragedy of Macbeth. And again, I've liked those five, I think, for almost all the season here since I've started predicting this category. And again, I don't really see, other than Belfast and Cyrano, those are the two I would say really look out for those two. Spencer, the production design was really not in your face. I know that's in sixth right now above Belfast and Cyrano on Gold Derby's odds, but I'm not buying that one. I'm not buying that one. And again, Power of the Dog is another one that could, and Being the Ricardos, I would say. This is maybe one tech category where maybe Being the Ricardos stands a decent shot of getting in. But at least at this rate, I would say Power of the Dog is another one where it's like, okay, if it just gets that much love, then it could get into that category. Music categories. Dune is my front runner still for score here, and it's more a kind of placeholder as well right now, just because I'm not really sure what would emerge here that would kind of get in over other stuff. But yeah. Then Power of the Dog, Parallel Mothers, The French Dispatch, and Encanto. So I'm leaving out Spencer, I'm leaving out Don't Look Up, I'm leaving out... I did have The Harder They Fall in there for a while, but I switched that one out. Even No Time to Die, and this maybe one other spot where Being the Ricardos could get a slot, but yeah. In the song category, still it's King Richard, Be Alive, Dos Oruguitas from Encanto, No Time to Die, then Down to Joy from Belfast, and Guns Go Bang. Again, if that one misses, I'm going to be pissed for The Harder They Fall, especially if it gets in over the one Just Look Up from Don't Look Up. That one, no, that does not stick out to me. It's not a great song just on its own, just the music and stuff, but also the lyrics and stuff. It's like, oh, it's really just obvious. So maybe something like Beyond the Shore, if Coda does overperform, could get in there. Respect, the song from that one, which is Here I Am Singing My Way Home. Maybe that one gets in instead. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. We'll go back to the hair and makeup category now. This one, it's close. I actually, because Eyes of Tammy Faye makes a lot of sense here and is the front runner right now on a lot of odds makers. I believe IndieWire also put Eyes of Tammy Faye out front last I checked. I'm going to go House of Gucci, though, just because it's got the makeup, the heavier prosthetics and stuff, and it's involving actors and everything, which is the same argument for Tammy Faye, but I don't know. I just think House of Gucci right now. Then Dune. I have Eyes of Tammy Faye actually in third. And that's arguably just in case it doesn't get seen by enough people or whatever, just generally when we get to final voting. Suicide Squad I have in fourth, and Nightmare Alley in fifth. So I'm leaving out West Side Story, which some people like here. I'm leaving out... Coming to America was one I really looked at for a while here, and Cruella is also another one I looked at for a while. But, yeah, the other two, Cyrano and No Time to Die, I've definitely gone away from Cyrano here. And No Time to Die, I mean, the makeup is kind of there, and it's kind of basic, or whatever. And the sound category, I think we talked about this, it's the same five I have in at BAFTA right now, which is Dune, West Side Story, No Time to Die, Belfast, and Tick, Tick, Boom. Definitely Quiet Place Part 2 is one I'm considering. Power of the Dog, again, could just sneak in there. And I believe Joker did get the sound category, or both sound categories that year, didn't it? So that's, again, kind of a very similar place there. And then also Matrix and Spider-Man, I would say, just in case those have a shot there. In the visual effects category, I still have my five here being Dune, Shang-Chi, and Legend of the Ten Rings, The Matrix Resurrections, Eternals, and No Time to Die. Again, the Spider-Man effects are kind of wonky at times, so I'm not as confident in that one. In Eternals, I think, again, the effects are better in that. They're not perfect. There's definitely some moments where they look a little too CGI for my taste. But that could get in there. No Time to Die, again, generally on these long lists and short lists at both award ceremonies has done pretty well. So I think that one gets in. Let's see, otherwise Godzilla vs. Kong, Free Guy, some people like here, and yeah, that's probably about it. Okay, so that leaves the short categories. And again, these are kind of the ones where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go with what sounds right. Us Again is kind of seemed to be out to an early lead here. So I'm picking that one out front. Then Step Into the River in second. The Windshield Wiper in third. Only a Child in fourth. And I'm going with Namu in fifth. Robin Robin is a popular pick here as well. Some are actually thinking that one could win, which could. The Musician, just looking at the little image they have here, that looks pretty. Flowing Home looks kind of pretty. Yeah, that's that one. Documentary short. I'm going with an outliner here. I'm going with the Nazis one. Camp Confidential: America's Secret Nazis. How about that one? Yeah. Which I don't know what the subject matter on that one is. Is that actually like America's Secret Nazis? Is that about Nazis like the Operation Paperclip thing, where we brought Nazis over after World War II, or is that like about because it's camp? Is that like concentration camp, like what we set up for like Asian Americans on the West Coast during World War II? Because that, I've always said, you've got a hell of a movie you can tell there. That can be an emotional powerhouse movie there. Because that's one subject that especially American history, really shies away from. Really, I remember that was something where it's like for years I went through school without knowing that and stuff. Finally, one of our teachers brought it up. I'm like, holy shit, that was like just a heartbreaking kind of moment for me and stuff. It's like, yeah, because we all obviously, even from like second, third grade, we all learn about concentration camps and the Nazi extermination of the Jews, or attempt to exterminate them, obviously. And everything, and it's just like, the whole the Holocaust thing, everything with that, it's like, boy, that just seems like the low, especially for recent, like in the last 100, 200 years, that seems like, obviously other than maybe slavery, seems like the lowest of lows, like what you can go to as a human being. And it's like, just to know or to discover later on, just to have the knowledge that some of that crap did go on American shores. It's like, that kind of runs it, that kind of hits home there. Anyway, so regardless, again, Holocaust stuff always does very well in these short categories, so I'm not doubting it. I doubted it last year, and it came through and won. So I'm like, okay, at least early on, until it misses the nominations, I'm going to not discount it. The Queen of Basketball has been gaining a little momentum here. I have that in a second place. When We Were Bullies in third, Day of Rage in fourth, and Lynching Postcards in fifth. The Day of Rage one, that almost looks like a January 6th thing, so that's why I'm going with that. Maybe that's a different thing, but just on the image and stuff. And I'll look into these maybe a little bit more when we get closer to the actual nominations. Plus, we'll have a little more coverage of them, just generally speaking, from some of the other sites and stuff, which I'm always really interested to see, because I'm like, I always read the titles, and early on I'll go with one or two. I'm like, that sounds good. And then you find out the subject matter, you're like, oh, that's probably not getting in. Anyways, 3 Songs for Benazir is the front runner right now by a slim margin, because Queen of Basketball, again, is really gaining momentum, and that one I can actually see going all the way here. Then Coded, The Hidden Love of J.C. Leyendecker. That one, I don't know, again, that one very well, but that one's gaining a little momentum here, it looks like, too. Terror Contagion, Audible, Takeover. Some of these short categories, everybody kind of picks a little bit on Gold Derby, so it's like, you can understand why some of them are kind of having, not as long odds as you get down to the bottom of the list and stuff. And then lastly, we end in the live action short category. When the Sun Sets has a pretty title and stuff, so that one might just run the whole thing. Television, or Television, however it's pronounced there, I have in second. Freema's I have in third, The Long Goodbye in fourth, which again some people think actually does stand a good shot of going all the way. And then You're Dead, Helen, I have in fifth. I just have to say it that way. You're Dead, Helen. Which it looks like it's actually from, that's from Spain. Te mort, Helen. Yeah, it looks like that's, or maybe it's French. Mort. Yeah, I think that's Italian or French, or one of the Latin languages there, yeah. Otherwise, Censor of Dreams, some people like. The Criminals and The Dress are kind of the 3 other ones that people are liking here. Okay, normally at this stage, I would also go through the list here. I would count up which films have multiple nominations and stuff. I haven't quite gotten to that point yet, so that's definitely something I'm going to do next time, and everything there. And it's like, sometimes that is helpful, where it's like, okay, after you kind of look through everything, you're like, okay, this one is getting like 9, 10, 11 nominations or whatever, or up to that range. Why don't I have it in this category if it's, possibly applicable? It's like, that kind of helps set all that straight and everything. So, all right. Otherwise, I think that'll do it for me. I'll be back here next time. Probably it will be, boy, it's like I said, PGA and DGA are both 10 days away right now. I don't know if I need to take that long a break, but probably it'll probably be final predictions for PGA and DGA next time, so that'll be next Tuesday or Wednesday, so like over a week from now. But yeah, because that would be on a Thursday next week. Okay. Yeah, otherwise I don't really see, because Critics' Choice, I think, again, I don't think I've heard a final thing on that for when their actual show is. They're still kind of hedging their bets with Omicron and everything, so yeah, that one looks like it's a little ways off. Yeah, SAG wins and BAFTA nominations will be out, or SAG wins won't be till March, but the BAFTA nominations and obviously Oscar nominations will be out early February. And February 8th, by the way, is our Oscar nominations, which is the second Tuesday of that month there. So, yep. Okay, so we're getting down to it. I've still got a little bit of homework to do with catching up on movies and stuff. So I think I named off the three that are still in theaters. That'd be Licorice Pizza, West Side Story, and Nightmare Alley. Otherwise, the ones that have streaming options that I have to catch up on, that would be Tick Tick Boom, King Richard, Being the Ricardos, Tender Bar, Tragic Macbeth, and Lost Daughter are the last ones to catch up with. Then I think I've seen most everything. Again, passing, maybe it would work out the second time and I can actually finish that one. But otherwise, I don't think I skipped way too many this year. I don't think so. I think I would see The Humans I had on the list earlier this year, but that one has completely fallen off, and it just seems like everybody's ignoring that one, so I'm going to skip that one. So if that one ends up getting in for Richard Jenkins or one of those, maybe adapted screenplay or something weird, then yeah, I just missed that one. Drive My Car, I don't think I can find yet, so that one I would just have to sight unseen on that one. Otherwise, Cyrano still comes out in theaters here, I believe, next week or the week after, so I'll try to catch that one in theater. Hopefully by then I'll be closer to getting all the rest of these caught up. But, yeah, otherwise I don't think I'll be missing way too many from these top categories and stuff. It'll just be a couple tech category ones that I miss, which usually happens. Even Cruella, I think I was interested in seeing earlier, and I might catch up with that one still, too. But, yeah. Okay, otherwise I'll still do some of my homework, and we will catch everybody next time.